The opinions expressed in this show are the views of the host and not necessarily that of WTRW, 94.3 The Talker, or the Bold Gold Media Group.
The following presentation is paid for by Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate, who is solely responsible for its content. Portions transcribed.
All Century 21 real estate offices are independently owned and operated.
Hi, I'm Jackie Ruddy, broker of Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate. Welcome to the Real Estate Roundtable on 94.3 FM The Talker. I am here with my co-host, fellow realtor, husband, Pat Devaney.
Good morning, Jackie. How are you today?
I'm excellent. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
We have with us attorney Richard Fanucci. Good morning.
Good morning, Jackie. Good morning, Patrick.
Good morning, Rick.
Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for having me back again.
Always a pleasure. We're here every Saturday at 11 a.m., Sunday at 11:30 a.m., where we discuss everything real estate. We have a full-time real estate office with many exceptional realtors who've been listing, selling, and appraising real estate for 50-plus years.
During the week, feel free to email us with any questions you have at questions@jruddy.com. That's questions@jruddy.com, or you can give us a call at 570-344-6724. And when you're at jruddy.com, click on the webcam tab and see what's going on at Dunmore Corners. We get hits from all over the world on that camera.
Also on jruddy.com are our listings, the MLS listings, and archive radio shows. That's mobile-friendly, jruddy.com, where we also have all the popular podcast apps that we feature the program on. And check us out on social media. Attorney Richard Fanucci. Who are you? How long have you been an attorney, and where do you practice, please?
Well, Jackie, I've been a licensed attorney in Pennsylvania for 34 years now, going on 35. I have my own practice in 1711 Main Street in Blakely. Practice primarily in Lackawanna County. My practice consists primarily of residential and commercial real estate. I'm a licensed title agent. We do much estate planning, elder law, estate administration. I also do a lot of municipal law and various business law setups, incorporations, etc.
Yes. I know all these things, so I wanted to bring you in today to talk about proper estate planning, which I think is huge in real estate. And what we do, we come across all different scenarios, and I wanted to talk to you about that today for our listeners.
Be delighted to, Jackie.
Okay. So what's the first thing we need to talk about?
Yeah, when is the time to start doing this? Should I do it when everybody's like 90 years old, maybe? No? I don't think so?
Well, no, not quite. I mean, there's no time like the present. That's what I tell most of my clients. Having a proper estate plan is very important in life, particularly if you have a family, if you have children, or not. It's actually more important when you don't have children to make sure that you have a proper estate plan. In the world of estate planning, there are various devices that we talk about, various tools. The big three of estate planning is usually a last will and testament. We talk about a general durable power of attorney and some sort of healthcare directive, living will, advanced medical directive. Those are usually the big three. When we get into some complex estate planning plans, like where there's businesses or large monetary estates, you can get into some trusts, revocable, irrevocable trusts. It all depends on the situation. Estate planning is very fact sensitive to the individual.
And estate planning, I find that a lot of people think that that's for wealthy people, maybe just get a will. And I'm sure the will is an important part of estate planning. But as you hit on that topic, what you do while you're living, too, is part of estate planning, right?
Absolutely. And people don't realize that when we sit down and discuss maybe a call that's come in about transferring the house to the children, that is estate planning. That is part of the whole picture. And, usually when people come in, they don't realize there's all these other things out there that we should be talking about. But I always try to incorporate that into our discussions, not just focus on possibly the deed transfer. We get into issues, the biggest question is always, well, what would happen if I have to go into a nursing home? So there's a whole discussion that needs to take place, and we do consultations on this all the time.
And every situation is different.
Yes, very different.
So there's not a cut and dry, easy answer for just one blanket response.
Yes, correct, Jackie. Getting a thorough background from the client is essential in guiding the client to what their needs may be, and meeting their wishes.
Right. We were discussing this a couple of weeks ago. We had Susan Ceriti on, and we were talking about long-term medical care and how people can, this could be part of their estate planning and part of their wealth protection if they have any money they want to save. So
absolutely,
there's a lot to consider here.
Absolutely.
Okay, so if someone dies without a will, who wants to really think about death? Not many people, right? It's a scary topic.
Absolutely is, but a very necessary one, Jackie, because it is inevitable. It's part of life.
I don't know about you, but I don't. I'm out. I think I'm going to. I choose to live forever. Okay.
Well,
no, it's not going to work.
Unfortunately, Patrick, I come across a lot of people in my practice that think that way, and it's not necessarily the best way to think.
Okay.
But it does happen, and we are only human, so we tend to sometimes not want to look at the inevitable. But in the world of estate planning, guys, certainly the most important, the most vital, in my opinion, is for someone to have a will, a last will and testament. That is the most basic, simplest method of estate planning, and probably the one that, if anything, anybody needs, everyday person, it should be a last will and testament.
Okay, so what age? Or is it for people only with assets? Or is it somebody when they hit 21, should they be thinking about it? What's an age that's too early? Is there such a thing as too early?
Probably not, Jackie. Although, it becomes more important the older we get. If your first home, if you start coming into money, if you have children that you may have either, out of wedlock or not, it becomes important to prepare to start providing for what would happen in the event something unexpected happens to you. And again, the most basic of estate planning is having a last will and testament. A last will and testament is simply a written direction that if I die, here's what I want to happen with whatever it is I own or owe. So whatever you own or owe goes into your estate when you die, and it's directed to the people who you want to wind up with it. And also you get to choose whom you want to be, your executor, the person who will step into the shoes of the decedent and wind up the affairs that you had in life, sell your assets, pay your bills, and ultimately disperse to the beneficiaries.
Okay. What happens when someone dies without a will?
So that's called dying intestate, Jackie. And when you have a will, it's called dying testate versus dying without a will, which is intestate. So when you have a will, your will, of course, is going to direct how you want your estate to pass, to whom, and who you want to be in charge. When you die without a will, the laws of Pennsylvania will determine, through its intestate laws, who will, one, inherit, who will be the legal beneficiaries of your estate. Number two, who will have the right to act as administrator of your estate. The term administrator is the same as an executor. Executor is when there is a will, administrator when there is no will. So the laws of Pennsylvania will determine, and basically it's according to a lineal relationship. So the intestate code sets forth a pecking order, a priority order. So it starts with, are you married?
A spouse.
And kids. Yes, if there's a spouse and kids, then in various degrees, the spouse and kids, depends if the kids are children of that spouse or not of that spouse. But after that, if there's no spouse, you to wherever you stop wherever you hit the next level of relationship. So if no spouse, if no children, it goes to parents. If no parents, it goes to grandparents. If no grandparents, brothers and sisters. And then if there is no brothers and sisters, it goes to aunts and uncles of your parents, first cousins, second cousins, third cousins. It keeps going further and further out in the lines of consentiguity. And ultimately, at the end of the day, and we get this question all the time, I heard that if I die without a will, that the state takes everything. We get that question all the time.
I've heard that.
Well, it is true, but only true if and only if you have absolutely, positively no relatives left in life. And that is very, very rarely the case.
But while you were talking, I did think of something. So I don't want to throw you a curveball. Here's a scenario. You have an estranged spouse. You never formally divorced. Mm-hmm. You pass away. What happens then?
That spouse has rights to your estate. Depends. The circumstances will depend on to what degree, but because the person would die being legally married, that spouse still has rights. It doesn't matter if they haven't lived together for 50 years.
Okay. Yeah, I had a feeling.
Yep.
Now, if I have an investment account or something like that, and I name somebody as my beneficiary, that doesn't come into the will or anything, right? That just transfers through the institution. Is that how that works?
That's absolutely correct, Patrick. So wills can only control, first of all, what you own on your date of death. So it doesn't matter what you gave away before you died or what you may have acquired or disposed of after you wrote the will. So whatever's there on your date of death is what is going to go into your estate. Secondly, per your point, wills cannot control anything that you've set up in life to jointly held with someone else or that you may have designated in life through some type of contract or device to go to someone else via a beneficiary designation or a term like TOD, meaning transfer on death, or POD. Some banks use POD, pay on death. So those are the exceptions to the will. Wills cannot control that. So, for example, Jackie, if you had a will that says everything I own in life goes to my husband, if you had a life insurance policy that said, I name Rick Fanucci as the beneficiary.
I'd say, hey, what's going on here? Well, that's what I would say. Okay, sorry, keep going.
Well, the point is, Rick Fanucci, if it's the way it is, Rick Fanucci will get that beneficiary policy, be the beneficiary in that policy, and Patrick would not receive it. So wills can't control that unless, of course, the beneficiary is deceased or there was none named.
Then, right. So I was thinking that if the beneficiary is deceased, what happens then?
It goes, if there's no other contingent named, it swings back and goes through the will or through the estate.
Okay. So our son is going to be 18 soon. We do not have a power of attorney in the event something happened and we were incapacitated. Is he of legal age to be our power of attorney?
Yes, he is. So 18 is the age of majority, and good point on that. So, when we do estate planning, we do wills for husband and wife that have minor children. We always look at naming a guardian for the child or children until the age of majority, which is 18, and more importantly, a trustee who's going to act as custodian of the money that the children would inherit, and that you can name up usually till 25 years. So you can, even though they would be 18, you can still hold it in trust by a trustee until they, are a little older.
Oh, I gotcha. So he wouldn't get it until he turns 25.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. But you dictate all that in your will.
Okay, so estate planning, getting back to that, and so most importantly, a will should be made. Right.
And Rick
created.
said, and Rick was telling me before the show, don't fear the what, Rick?
The probate. Don't fear the probate.
That's what happens when you pass without a will. You go into probate. So
probate, Jackie, is the process where the estate is created. So whether you have a will or don't have a will, it is still probate. When you have a will, your executor would take the will with the lawyer to the register of wills and create the estate. Same as if there's no will. So the administrator needs to be appointed after anyone who had a right to act as administrator signs what's called a renunciation. So, but the process is the same from that point on because the estate is created the day that you're taken and you're sworn in. The executor or the administrator is actually sworn in to uphold the laws of the state and administer the estate according to law. People don't realize that when you create an estate, probate a will, it's a court appointment. you're actually being the register of wills is an extension or arm of the court. So you're being appointed by the court to act properly. It's a fiduciary capacity.
I never understood that.
I didn't either.
I just learned something new.
Right. Okay. So I always thought in probate was a bad thing.
I think probate has gotten a bad rap by a lot of various estate planning agencies that may try to talk people into very expensive, elaborate trust packages. And the key to, and not that they're bad, not that any of that is bad. It's just that the key is they use the mantra that don't pay inheritance tax. Don't go through probate because you'll pay inheritance tax. And a lot of times I say to my clients, depending on the circumstances, if the only reason you want to do this is to avoid paying inheritance tax, why? Why? Because paying inheritance tax isn't all that bad. First of all, if it's parents leaving to children, it's only 4.5%, and that's less than Pennsylvania sales tax. So that's the only tax usually that the kids are ever going to pay. And by the way, it's paid right out of the estate assets. Brothers and sisters are 12%, and everybody else is 15%. So when you get into the higher tax brackets, yeah, it can be a little more costly. But again, sometimes the only tax you're ever going to pay versus federal and state income tax that we pay is, 28, 25, 28%. So it's not always the worst thing to go through probate and pay inheritance tax.
This is why it's so important to sit down with an attorney that does this, that knows this, because you're sensible, you're objective, and you can guide somebody correctly. Because otherwise, messes occur, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, a lot of messes. And I have some stories I could share with you after the break regarding what are some of the bad consequences, particularly with real estate and not having a particular estate plan.
Yeah, please do, because I think that helps tie the topic together.
Everybody loves a good story.
Right. Okay. Attorney Richard Fanucci, how does someone get in touch with you, please?
Well, our office is located at 1711 Main Street in Blakely. Our telephone number is 570-383-0652. We do have a website that you can look up and contact us at any time, and we will be happy to assist you with any of your needs if we can.
Thank you. Pat?
Yes, we have a beautiful 4-bedroom, 3-bath home at 1906 Delaware Street in Dunmore for $265,000. This lovely colonial-style home sits on a 50 by 230 lot. It has off-street parking, taxes of less than $3,000 a year. It's in a desirable neighborhood. It's got a covered front and rear porch, a fenced-in yard, beautiful hardwood floors, a stone fireplace, stained glass windows, large modern kitchen, and a beautiful window seat with storage underneath. The room sizes are perfect, and this home is in move-in condition. So give us a call about 1906 Delaware Street in Dunmore, a 4-bedroom, 3-bath home for $265,000, and that's listed by Connie Seagraves of our office.
Thank you, Pat. This week's sponsor is Comfort Spec Inspection Service, and we want to thank them. Comfort Spec Inspection Services is your one-stop shop for all your residential or commercial inspection needs. Their services include residential, commercial, structural, septic, pest, well, water analysis, mold, air quality, soil sampling, and radon inspections. Comfort Spec is Northeast PA's premier home inspection service because they offer same-day digital reports, 24-hour online scheduling, appointments 7 days a week, 200% client satisfaction commitment. They ease real estate transactions by providing information to ensure safety and peace of mind. To contact Comfort Spec Inspection Services, call 570-244-2090 or visit comfortspecpa.com. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Real Estate Roundtable with Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate on 94.3 FM The Talker. We'll be right back. When considering to sell or buy a home, why choose Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate? Let me tell you why. 70% of home buyers settle for the first agent they meet, and many regret it. 90% of home sellers hire an agent, but was it the right choice? Don't have agent remorse. I'm Jackie Ruddy, and I've been in and around the real estate business for most of my life. And at Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate, we've been selling real estate for half a century. But we do not do it halfway. You deserve better than average. Average doesn't help you. We know it's all about you and what you need. Century 21 is the #1 in brand awareness, is the most recognized name in real estate, and is the most respected in the industry. In this market, if you dream big, you need to move fast. So it makes perfect sense to contact Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate, 570-344-6724, and visit jruddy.com. That's JRUDDY.com. We're back with more Real Estate Roundtable with Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate on 94.3 FM The Talker. I'm Jackie Ruddy, broker, and with Pat Devaney, my husband, fellow realtor.
And we're back.
We're back with attorney Richard Fanucci. Thank you so much for being here. This is a great discussion. I feel like we could go on and on for hours, but we only have a couple more minutes. So you promised us some stories. We're talking about estate planning basics, proper estate planning in Pennsylvania. Tell us some horror stories, please.
Well, Jackie, as I said earlier, that I can't overemphasize the importance of people having even the most simplest of estate plans, meaning a last will and testament, in place. Not only does it ensure that your wishes are going to be honored after you're gone, but it saves quite a bit of a mess for your immediate family. And we see every day in our office, and over the years, 34 years that I've been a practicing attorney, we've seen a lot of horror stories. 2 this week, in fact, came across my desk. And so there is a situation where a person had owned a house in Lackawanna County, a single gentleman who was never married, had no children, he had no will. He dies. And by the way, the house he lived in was a modest little home, probably worth $100,000 or a little less. He had inherited the house himself from his family members who had lived in this home since the 1950s, and he had actually got it in 1995. He passes away in 2009. Now, in the house with him lived his 3 single, also never married, without children, brothers and sisters. He has no will, and he was survived by not only the 3 that he lived with, but 9 other living brothers and sisters, plus he had 6 deceased siblings who predeceased him. There was 15 kids in the family at one time. Now, because he died without a will, Pennsylvania's intestate law dictated that not only does his next of kin was his surviving brothers and sisters, not having any children or living parents, but also all the heirs who would have been of his deceased brothers and sisters that died before him. And we're talking into 30-some people who would have an interest in this home. And given the fact that he died in 2009, we are now in 2023, there's all these people have died since then. There's estate issues galore here. There's inheritance tax issues galore. I should mention at this point that if inheritance tax is not paid with regard to real estate, at the time of someone's death, it constitutes an automatic lien on the title, which, as you both know, as experienced real estate agents, we see all the time. We escrow at the time of a sale to ensure that inheritance tax is covered. By the way, Pennsylvania is probably one of only 6 states in the nation that has inheritance tax. Some think that's bad. Others think it's good. As I mentioned earlier, it's not all that bad because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that your family is going to pay. But notwithstanding, we're one of only 6.
How long do you have to, I'm sorry to interrupt your train of thought, but how long do you have to pay that? Is there a time frame?
That's a great question. So there is no timeline per se. However, the Inheritance Tax Act says that if you pay within 3 months of the decedent's date of death, even an estimated amount, you get a 3% 5% discount. If you pay between 3 months date of death and 9 months post date of death, it's at face value of whatever the tax rate is. And if you pay past 9 months of the date of death, there are interest and penalties that begin to accrue. Now, the interest and penalties are not so unfriendly like IRS penalties, but nonetheless, they're interest and penalties.
Yeah, you're losing money.
Yeah. Moral of the story,
Yeah.
the longer you wait, the higher the bill is going to be. And in this case, this gentleman died in 2009. You have probably 15 different estates because now kids of his brothers and sisters have also died. It's a real nightmare.
Who gets to figure all this out?
An attorney, a competent, qualified attorney.
One?
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Okay.
So, most problems
there's-
are fixable, but things that are fixable usually mean dollar signs.
Sure.
So,
It's
unfortunately.
there's nothing left. It's nothing.
Exactly, Patrick. Exactly. So this is just one recent horror story of someone who unfortunately did not have, the foresight to have an estate plan.
Well, I have a question about, popular thing that a lot of people are doing is putting a home in their children's names.
That depends. That can be tricky.
Okay.
That can be tricky.
All right.
Now, say if you put it, my mom puts her house in my name, right? Now I come along, my wife says, well, I'm done with you, my dear. And now she wants to divorce me. And I have brothers and sisters that I'm supposed to be giving this house to. But my wife, my lovely wife, my current wife, she would get half of that, right? And my brothers and sisters will be out in the cold.
And you get remarried. What happens to the new wife?
Oh, my God. Just shoot me now.
Well, certainly all those things can happen and has happened. It's a discussion that I will always have with the client and remember the client being the parent or grandparent when they come in and say, and usually it starts with I want to transfer the house. I don't want my kids to pay inheritance tax, and that's when I look at them and go, okay, why? And then we have the discussion, and I do it a little, to tease them because when they hear the whole story, they're like, oh, well, that's not so bad. I mean, the real reason why people want to transfer the house today is because their fear of losing it to the nursing home. And again, that's a whole nother discussion.
And there's a 5-year look back.
Yeah.
Correct. And that when we do the sit down with someone doing an estate, whether they ask for it or not, is something that I usually will hit upon in going through our interview.
Well, some things that the parents don't think about, and this is a true story that my parents' friends in New Jersey had happened to. They put the house in the kid's name. They were living in the house. The worst case scenario, in my opinion, was that one of the kids kicked them out of the house.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That can happen.
Oh,
it
my
certainly
gosh.
can happen. And I remind my clients that if it is their desire to transfer the deed over for $1 to the children, that they don't own it anymore, that the kids now own it, whoever you transfer it to. In Patrick's example that he just mentioned, you put the house in one kid's name for whatever reason, and there are sometimes valid reasons for doing that, not wanting it in, four different, yes, it can get a little hairy. But the risk of that is that either one, that child dies, or two, becomes divorced, and yes, the house can get, brought into a very nasty divorce. Now there are some good news there regarding what the divorce code says in that, but that is another topic for another conversation. But it is possible.
Attorney Richard Fanucci, how does someone get in touch with you, please?
Our best way is through the phone. Our number is 570-383-0652, or check us out on our website.
Very good. And would you come back next week? Because I'd like to tackle landlord-tenant issues, please.
I would be delighted to, Jackie. Thank you.
Pat?
Yes, if you're looking for a piece of land to build your dream home, check out 254 Winship Road in Covington Township for only $50,000. This 1-acre plot of land is level, it's cleared, and it's approved building lot in the North Pocono School District. It has a current perk test, site plan, sewer, and zoning permits with a driveway installation permit. It's close to Covington Park and the elementary and middle schools. That's a cleared 1-acre lot at 254 Winship Road in Covington Township for $50,000. And that's listed by Connie Seagraves of our office.
Thank you, Pat. We honor our nation's heroes and we salute our fallen, and we give thanks to all on this Memorial Day. I also want to say hello to Joseph O'Connor. He called me yesterday. He mentioned that he's tunes into our radio show all the time, and he gets some good information. We thank him for being such a loyal listener. Remember to tune in next Saturday at 11 a.m., Sunday at 11:30 a.m. to more of the Real Estate Roundtable with Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate on 94.3 The Talker.